about how Idaho is really leading the charge in putting making into public libraries. And there's some really good reasons we're doing that. I don't know if anybody saw, but the nation's report card just came out, and 26% of the graduating 12th graders were at or proficient in science and math. Pretty depressing. So we're looking at other ways that we can provide opportunities to kids out of school learning in particular. And the statistics on the bottom, a typical 18-year-old spends only 18% of their waking hours in a formal educational setting. So if you're not providing opportunities outside of school, then we're missing a huge window of opportunity to make a positive impact on those kids' lives. So that's kind of our why as to why we want to bring this innovative type of education into public libraries. So what did we do? In year one, which was last year, we started January of 13. We handpicked 5 libraries to participate in the pilot project. I should have said that I worked for the Idaho Commission for Libraries, which is the state library of Idaho. So this was kind of like a top-down approach where we sourced all of the materials, we purchased the products, we provided all of the professional development for the staff, library staff. We provided ongoing support. We developed a brand, the Make It at the Library brand, and paid for all the training, travel, everything. So year one, 5 libraries. Year 2, which just started in January, we added 6 more libraries. That was through a competitive process. So they actually applied. We had 11 libraries apply, and we were able to fund 6 of them. So, so we now have 11 libraries in the great state of Idaho. Really diverse, rural areas, little one-room library in Gooding, Idaho is one of our pilots. We have one that's a school community library, which is really neat because the community library is actually located in the high school. Lots of great opportunities for integration and collaboration in that setting. So we kind of started a unique, in a unique way. We started with teens. Part of it is that my job at the library is focusing on that population. So I basically said, can I take the entire budget and move it over and use it to build media in libraries? And they unbelievably said, sure, let's do it. So we started with teens, and we started with some unique materials. We wanted to focus on like the design process and engineering, so we use Fisher Technic to do that. We are really lucky that we have a company in Idaho, well actually in Boise, that does, the last 20 years has been doing kind of after school and hands-on engineering. So they provided the materials, and they have a really skilled trainer that came and worked with us, has a really extensive background in experiential learning and constructionism. So she helped us frame the project and in the first phase of the 2-day training, get the engineering kind of components down. So we did 3 phases. First component was engineering, again, that design process. The second phase was taking Technic to another level with robotics. And so we added in the robotics training through another 2-day workshop. The third training was kind of at the end of the year, and they all received RepRap 3D printers, and we did 2 days on 3D design and 3D printing. And then Maker Media flew up and did a half-day e-textile breadboard with us as well, which was a lot of fun. So that was kind of the 3 phases. So all 5 libraries in the first year received those materials. And in the second year, they're getting pretty much exactly the same. One unique thing is we've asked the original 5 libraries to use a new person to attend the training in the second year so that we're continuing to build their capacity, and they're getting more people trained and attending with the second cohort. So the libraries have just gone off the scale with this. They have done so many fun things. The Zuzu Pet Battles, I think that happened like the first week back, and that wasn't even any material we provided. But what happened is they started thinking so creatively. They started just rethinking programming in general. They did life-size Angry Birds outside. That was a lot of fun. The Lego pinball machines were wonderful. That was a local person in one of the communities that they'd never even known about, and he showed up when he heard about this project. He said, "This is what I do. right? And so they came in and he did these great pinball machines with them. So they're doing just amazing things. This is actually, one would think this might be in Gooding, Idaho, with the sheep, but it's not. It's right outside of Boise. And one of our libraries found out about a sheep farmer, and they came in, brought the sheep into the parking lot, they sheared the sheep, they washed the wool, and a lot of the kids walked away with the final product over a 2-day period of this felt bowl. It was just an awesome project, happened outside, didn't need a lot of specialized materials, and it's formed a really strong collaboration partnership with his family now, who's just totally invested in the library in a new way. So it's been fun. This is from Gooding. They have a very small budget. We don't provide ongoing financial support for them to purchase materials. I mean, we're kind of doing the big piece. So they found some super creative ways to use recycled materials and very low or no cost options in order to do some wonderful projects. Apparently this brought in more families than they'd ever seen in the library when they went out to the pond and started testing the boats. And you know, the kids would run out and they'd have all their materials and they'd tweak the boats and make them work better, and then off they'd go. So that was a great project. So we kind of had set it up. We had it pretty structured in what our expectations were. We were using Institute of Museum and Library Services, IMLS funding, which is the feds, and they have some guidelines that we need to adhere to. So, so we had some restrictions, but we wanted to kind of frame it a certain way and make sure that we had the libraries meeting benchmarks along the year project. But already within the first couple months, they started expanding beyond teens. They started taking the materials out into the community. We went to Head Starts and Boys and Girls Clubs, community centers. We have a couple bookmobiles. They threw the Legos and the Fisher Technic on and took them out and did mobile making in parking lots with the large refugee populations in Idaho. So that's been a lot of fun to kind of engage the community in a different way. One of our libraries, called the Meridian District Library, really wanted to have some for checking out making. So they, on their own, created these Make It Fake It kits. And so they had these totes, and they started, they took the Fisher Technic and they made some catapult kind of kits that they could be checked out. They did a baking. I believe they have a cooking one. They have how to play a ukulele. I'm not entirely sure where that one came from, but it seems to be popular. I think they have about 8 right now, and they've never been on the shelves. They have wait lists of checkout longer than their ebooks. So that's been fun. So what that has sparked us to do, I fly out tonight, and tomorrow is our robotics training with my team. So we have 100 of these totes waiting for them. They don't know this, but and they're all going to get those and be able to do their own checkout or outreach kits. So if they want to take those into classrooms, they could put together some kits. But again, we're trying to build that infrastructure for them because they just don't have the funding to do it. So we're looking at ways we can really just continue to build that structure for them. So that's been a really neat addition that they just came up with it on their own. We're incorporating it into the pilot, which has been, I'll say, you know, it's been kind of a top-down approach because the state's driving it, but we've been very responsive all along to kind of listening to them so that from the bottom up we can improve it and really look at ways to make it more effective because they're the ones on the ground making with the kids. You know, I'm up, you know, here kind of doing the train the trainer, but we need to make sure it's working on the ground. So I have to admit, very pie in the sky at the beginning. I was just like, we're going to have maker spaces in all the libraries. Oh, this is going to be so cool. Yeah, it didn't happen. Space is at a premium in a lot of libraries. And even those who thought they might have space they could carve out, it was really challenging. So within about 3 months of the project last year, we said, throw it out. Let's not worry about the space. Let's create the makers, and the space will come. Making can happen anywhere. You know, it's a mindset, and so let's not worry about that. And that's been very freeing in some ways. You know, I think there was a lot of pressure of like, oh my God, we don't have the space. It's been more challenging. Some of them have big community rooms that they literally have to set up for these huge maker events they do. and then tear down the whole thing at the end. And so it's super time consuming, takes more staff time. But they wouldn't trade it for anything. Well, they would trade it for dedicated space, but I can't make that happen. Some of them are working on it, though, so that's been exciting. So, again, you're ILMLS funded, so we want to, well, anyway, we do want to evaluate. Even as our own agency, that's a very important thing for us. We evaluate every project that we do. However, this has been probably the most challenging aspect of anything here, because there's almost no precedent for how to evaluate the making at the team level. We can kind of look at the project and see how that is working. Have they met the benchmarks? Have they fulfilled the requirements? But watching teams make, especially if it's an open making session where 10 activities are happening, that is incredibly difficult to figure out if there's learning going on. I believe that there is. I can say, well, they're having fun, and a lot of people say, oh, great, they're having fun. What does that mean to learning? I could go on about that for another 30 minutes, but that's what it's all about. But so we're looking at ways. There's been some groundwork done in some of the after-school programming for the After School Alliance is a really rich resource. So they've done some interesting outcomes from STEM learning. But the three bottom ones, that innovation, engagement, and intentionality, we're looking to contract perhaps with an outside evaluator who could come in and help us frame this. But we've given video cameras to all the libraries, and we're asking them to start videotaping activities and then taking time later to look at the kids and say, okay, how long is Johnny staying engaged, in January? And is that changing 6 months later? Is Johnny able to engage longer at a more complex level? Are they collaborating differently? Are they mentoring other people? Those are real indicators of learning. Those are indicators of success. So that's, I think, something that we can really get our hands on. And I'm very passionate about that component, so I'm looking forward to how that goes. So the high points. Well, everything's been a high point from my standpoint. It's kind of my baby, and so that it's been so successful and so well received has been really heartwarming and exciting. Neat things is we're really seeing people look at their space different. We've literally had one library say, we don't need all those books. Nobody throw anything at me. But libraries are understanding that they have to use their space more creatively. They need to look at more ways to engage the public and provide them with meaningful learning experiences. And this is not my saying, but it's my favorite, and that is we need to stop being the grocery store and become the kitchen. We need to be where they construct knowledge, not just a place where we're consuming passively. We need people to understand that they can come to the library. It's a trusted place. It's in most communities. And of course, not every community perhaps can have this, but we are an existing network already. And we become more of a place where people understand they can cook. They can construct the knowledge and not just passively consume it. That's, and again, I think very exciting.
You want to try
so again, year 2 plan, training for library, and pulling in more staff from year 1.
Oh yeah.
Year 2 library, or the first year libraries in year 2 are being given some discretionary funds to go in their own direction. So if they want industrial sewing machines, or if they want more soldering irons, if they want to do squishy circuits, then they have some freedom to do that. We kind of packaged the first year, but now we're allowing them to look at the communities and saying, what do our communities need, and going in that direction. And I'll just say this is very exciting. I was in San Francisco on Thursday participating in a meeting with the Institute of Museum and Library Services. They are right now doing 3 convenings. The first was in New York on digital literacy. The second was San Francisco on Thursday on libraries as learning spaces. The third is in Chicago June 5th. That's all STEM. And the reason for these 3 meetings is for them to identify their strategic focus for funding for next year. So these are the 3 areas. And libraries, learning spaces, and STEM, which to me are very tied, are going to be those focuses. So
Thanks.
that's going to drive funding next year, the grants and everything else. So I think there's a lot of exciting ahead, and so that's going to be pretty amazing. We have a Facebook page, Make It Idaho, so it's called Make It at the Library is the project. And if you Google that or go to our, we'd love you to like our Facebook page. All of the libraries put their projects up and things they're doing there.
Can you
Or the government page, libraries.idaho.com,
I tried to run it on this.
has a full description of the project
VDMX.
that we used.
You can erase it.
That's my email address, and I am very invested in this and open to anybody who wants to talk to me about it. I'm real good about getting back to people. If you email me and tell me, like, I saw you at the Maker Fair or whatever, I would be interested in, are you doing, you know, is anything happening in your communities? What would you like to see? See how we can kind of take this to the next level. And so I think that's it. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything specific to libraries or anything else.
Right now,
otherwise,
I'm from here.
You can come see me afterwards.
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Okay, so he was asking about insurance. So I'm really lucky in that I don't know, because I'm the state. The state, we like to say, I don't know if you like me to say it, but we have carrots, no sticks. So libraries, we don't have any control over libraries in Idaho. It's an independent relationship. So each library has been developing their policies on their own. However, at our meetings, we've been sharing kind of best practices. What are you doing? What am I doing?
If you want, we can
release forms, things like that. We do have soldering irons everywhere. We have RepRap. We chose RepRap printers, which I'll tell you.
I tried to
is neat.
straighten
We
up
have a
under
local
there a
guy
little
who
bit.
built all of our printers, and he did the training, and he wrapped in a year of support for us. So he has already been to Gooding once and helped them and did a full day training with them again, kind of on site. So so there are people that have done like liability for soldering.
Well, maybe not right now. Yours is the fastest computer, so the idea is I would slip it into this spot, and it would become the master controller.
Yeah.
But first we need to put on VDMX.
Yeah. Right. No, we're not doing tool lending libraries yet. So they've really been just the make it, take it kits. And I don't know if there's been some discussion around that. You know what? I'm going to be with the makers tomorrow, so I'll throw that out and see if anybody's looking at tool lending, because it is a neat idea. I love that. It's a great way to. It's just another resource we can provide. Any other questions? Oh, I have to take the rest of the questions outside. But thank you very much.